Hello and welcome to the Moms Who Know podcast. I'm your host, Chanel Nielsen, and Tiffany Crumbs is my guest today. How are you, Tiffany?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me, Chanel.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you today because Tiffany is an expert on what we all do as mamas, and some of us do it better than others. She is an expert on saving money, meal planning, grocery budget, all these things that we all do and would all like to do better. And I became acquainted with Tiffany. I've actually seen lots of her blog posts, but I recently signed up for her program, which is called Grocery Budget Boot Camp, and I've been doing it, and it's been awesome. I thought I was pretty good at the grocery store, but our budget kept going up and up. Well, the budget didn't, but I certainly wasn't staying in the budget. What we were spending was going up. And so I decided I needed a little help, and this program has helped me so much. So I'm excited for you guys to learn from Tiffany today and to get some wisdom from her about saving money, because that's something we all could use some help on. So to start off with, Tiffany, will you tell us a little bit about why you started Don't Waste the Crumbs and kind of what was going on in your life at that point?
Sure. Well, when my husband and I first got married, we were in a tremendous amount of debt, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate to. We spent several months trying to figure out the number aspect of just getting control of the numbers and where we could save, where we couldn't save. And it boiled down to the grocery budget. That was one of the areas where we could easily spend less and in turn put that money towards our debt. Well, if you fast forward a few years, among my strategies of learning how to save money included coupons, which kind of led us down a road of boxed food and just not really eating healthy food in general. And then my husband asked me one day if we could eat real food. And I gave him this look like, what do you mean real food? Like, we're eating real food. And he was like, no, like the kind of food that grows in the ground, like carrots. I was like, oh. He's like, not from a box. So,
right.
So it kind of put me in a little bit of a tailspin because I didn't really know how to do that. I got in a really good grip on saving money on the food that we were eating, which was just, box prepackaged, just add water, those types of things. And when he said eat healthy food, my heart sank because I thought, well, healthy food is expensive. We can't afford healthy food. There's just no way. So I spent the next several months trying to figure that whole thing out, how to make healthy eating work within a budget. And I was able to do it. So I started sharing all of my ideas with my friends, which I don't recommend doing because your friends then look at you like, yeah, Tiff, I've heard that before. They start getting that, eyes glazed over look. So my husband and my friends suggested that I start a blog. And that's how Don't Waste the Crumbs was born. It was originally just a way for me to express these money-saving ideas I had, stored up in my brain. And then I realized I really liked teaching and I really liked helping others who were struggling with the same thing that we were struggling with. We had struggled, came through it successfully, and we were on the other side. And my heart went and still goes out to those who are in that struggling phase, and I don't know how to get through. So that's why I blog.
Yeah. I love it. I think so many of us need that. I can really relate to your story. I got really good at couponing too. And I had read somewhere, it was about the same time. It was when couponing was in its heyday, kind of 2008, after the housing market went down and everyone was saying, okay, shoot, what can I do to really save money? And couponing was where I turned to. And I taught classes on couponing. I got really good at it. And same, I ended up with a bunch of food that I didn't want to eat. I've always been very interested in health and nutrition. And, you can get box cereal really cheap, but you can't get tomatoes and you can't get, lettuce. And so I can definitely relate to what you were saying. It puts you in this kind of quandary of like, well, the cheap food is not the food that, it doesn't work out because you want to have healthy food. And so I love that you are combining the two. And I think that as moms, especially for people who are stay-at-home moms, but really anyone who does the grocery shopping, a lot of times we want to save money. We want to do the best and be good stewards of of whatever we have. I remember a friend who said she was a stay-at-home mom and she didn't work. And she said, my husband's job is to earn the money and my job is to spend the money. And I thought that was kind of funny, oh, that's cute. But the more I thought about it, that's really profound. That is, if you're a stay-at-home mom, that is your job to spend the money. And so you need to do a really good job with whatever amount you're given. And so I think that, that really is a stewardship that we have over that part of the budget.
I wholeheartedly agree. Actually have a similar motto, and it's my husband makes the money, but it's my job to keep the money at home, like to spend the least amount as possible while still taking care of everything you need to take care of. But it's the same aspect, stewarding what we have wisely.
Yes. Yeah. And it's an important job. So let's talk a little bit about how we do it. So grocery shopping for many of us is the biggest monthly expense. Maybe the mortgage or the rent might be bigger, but it's the biggest variable expense.
Correct.
So talk to us about what we can do to save money as we're grocery shopping.
So the first thing to keep in mind when you grocery shop is that it's just like any other store. So stores are in the business to make money. They are not in the business to provide you what you're looking for. I mean, yes, they do. Just like Sears and JCPenney has clothes, appliances or whatnot. Grocery stores have food, but grocery stores are actual business. So they're in it to make a profit. And I think when you go grocery shopping, knowing that the store is trying to make money on your purchases, it puts a different spin on sales, and it puts a different spin on their offerings and the way a store is laid out. For example, there's a reason why you walk into a store and it smells nice and it looks pretty. They want you to have a really great shopping experience. So if you can just go into the store knowing that beforehand and say, okay, I know you want me to spend money, but it's my job to get everything on my list for the best deal possible and, not buy anything else, then it makes it a little bit easier. It's like armed, so to speak, like you're ready for a battle. So I think the mindset's really, really important. The second, I think it's important to have a plan before you even set foot in the store. And it doesn't have to be a grandiose plan. I think a lot of people have this fear of meal planning. They think, it's this huge, drawn out extravaganza, and I don't know how to put a good meal together, when in reality a good meal it's what you just put on the table. Of course we want it to be healthy, but it doesn't have to be complicated. If you either buy homemade, that doesn't make sense, whether you buy bread or make homemade bread, if you just put together a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with apples and carrot sticks, that can be a healthy meal. So I think we have to change what we consider healthy. It doesn't have to be these ingredients that are rare and hard to find, that can only be purchased at very expensive health food stores. Like real food and healthy food can be bought at the grocery store. And you just want to put together something healthy for your family. It can be something simple. It doesn't have to be difficult at all.
That's such a good point. I like the idea of simplicity in meal planning, because I think that is where a lot of people get tripped up, is they say, oh my gosh, meal planning is so hard and I don't know what to do. I'm just going to go buy some stuff because we're out of food. Mm-hmm. And then you buy what looks good or what is convenient. Mm-hmm. When if you take that little step to say, okay, my kids are going to eat this, they like peanut butter and jellies, like you mentioned, or if I just buy a rotisserie chicken, then we'll be able to have this meal. And if you kind of think it through, even if you don't, get into great detail, even if you just think through, okay, I'm going to need this many vegetables, this many side dishes, right. However you do it, having a plan is huge. And whatever level you're at, that's okay. Start where you are. It can be as simple as you want it to be. So I like that it doesn't have to be a grandiose plan.
Oh yeah. There are so many times where I make a meal plan for us and, I just kind of rummage through the fridge and the freezer real quick for what I have. And my list will just be veggie times 3 or fruit times 4. And then I make the decision on what that vegetable or fruit will be when I get to the store. But at least I know before I go that my rough meal plan means I need some vegetables and I need some fruits to make it through the week.
I really like that. I don't usually do that. So I like that you write the number, like veggie times 3, fruit times 4. That's a great idea. And then tell us, when you get to the store and you're there and you're deciding your fruits and your veggies, what are the things that how do you decide at that point?
So I first look at, I always take my meal plan with me to the store. That way, if you are not sure, because usually by the time we get to the store, we forget what we put on the meal plan anyway. So
yes,
take it with you to the store, and that will equip you to make substitutions while you're there. So the first thing I'll look at is what's on sale. And my buy price for conventional produce, so this would be produce that's not organic, is about $1 per pound. If I'm aiming for organic produce, it's $2 per pound. So I weigh those prices versus how quickly it needs to be eaten. So I look at my meal plan, and if I know that in the next couple days, I'm just making really simple dinners, like you said, rotisserie chicken, or maybe I'm just going to roast my own whole chicken, and I just need some quick veggies on the side, then I would choose things that would go bad quickly, like spinach or mushrooms or zucchini, which means if I buy them now, I need to eat them soon. Then for later in the week, I would buy things that would stand up a little longer, like cauliflower or carrots or broccoli. Those things can sit in the fridge for a few days. So I balance the two. And then I always try to make sure that there's plenty of variety. And that could be whether how I cook them, or it could be in color. Usually I lean to color. And then I make sure that I have things that I know my family likes. So like, for example, my kids, I'm sure they're not very different from other kids, but they're not big fans of mushrooms. I, however, really want to make sure I'm including foods that will expand their palates so they become not picky eaters as they get older. So I'll balance out, say, broccoli with mushrooms at dinner. So we have a roasted pan of broccoli, but I'll throw some mushrooms in there too. So I just try to make sure I have a good balance of things I know they like versus things that aren't their favorites, so that yes, they eat dinner, but yes, they're also trying new things at the same time.
That's good. That's always good. Yeah. So that you don't get such a fight at dinner, and hopefully they're trying new things and continuing to expand their palates, which is always a challenge.
Yeah.
So that's really good. What you said about the produce and thinking it through, these are going to go bad in the next few days, and looking at your meal plan, because that is another trap I know people get into a lot, is wasting food. And that's part of the reason I think that people think eating healthy is so expensive, because you go to the store and buy a bunch of kale and lettuce and things that don't last, and then you don't eat it in a couple days and you throw it away. Well, of course, that's expensive. Anything you throw away is expensive. You just threw your money in the trash. So
exactly.
That definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit more then about meal planning. So I like how you're setting it up. What do you do when you're making your meal plan?
So I actually want to go back to how you mentioned food waste, because I have this really crazy statistic to share with you. The average American family wastes 40% of the food they buy.
Wow.
When it's that, statistics, we always take them with a grain of salt. But when you think about that in terms of money, it's like, filling up your grocery cart, going to checkout, paying $100, and then literally taking 40 of those dollars and throwing them in the trash can just right away, because that's how much we're wasting. So my number one tip when it comes to meal planning is to use the food you already have. Because yes, food waste comes in terms of, buying kale or spinach and it goes bad and ends up in the trash can. Food waste also shows up as kids or husbands or wives ourselves, not quite finishing all of our meals. But I think this lone aspect of food waste is we buy things and it just sits somewhere. It makes it to the back of the pantry. It's the very, very bottom of the deep freeze, or it's, slimy and gross and moldy in some unknown drawer that we forgot we had in the fridge. So if we can use what we already bought, first and foremost, that right there will save you an enormous amount of money every time you go shopping, because you already bought it. You don't have to spend money on it again. You already have it.
Yeah.
So that's my first tip.
That's such a good point. Okay, yeah. I love that. I want to ask you, we'll get to the meal planning thing in a little bit, but let's stay on the food waste, because one thing that I've found is I like to have a well-stocked, I think that, I don't know where this comes from, but I like to have a well-stocked pantry and a well-stocked fridge. We want to feel, for one thing, like we have choices.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed, and especially in doing your program and the Grocery Budget Boot Camp, is that if it's too well stocked, I don't know what's in there.
Yeah.
And then things are going to waste. So on a personal level, what do you do? How well stocked is your fridge? Is it fairly empty? So you can see everything that's in there? How do you do it?
So my fridge is actually more on the empty side. I totally understand where people, actually where you're coming from when you mentioned having like food on hand and feeling like you have variety, that there's enough. We talk about emergency planning, and if the power goes out or if a storm comes through, you don't want to be that family that's like begging other families for food because you weren't prepared. But at the same time, that stresses me out personally. Like I can't open the fridge and have a super full fridge because all I see is food waste. I look at things that I simply, realistically speaking, we cannot eat it fast enough. So I like to err on the side of minimalism when it comes to the fridge, only with the fridge. And I would rather go to the store every week to buy fresh produce and then use up all the fresh produce every single week than buy enough to last several weeks and then throw it away. But that's me.
Okay.
I know some do it completely differently, and you kind of have to find a system that works best for you. Here's a confession, I'm not a very good canner. So I don't know how to can things that might be in my fridge. So if I wanted to can carrots or green beans or anything like that. So my go-to for something that's going to go bad is leftovers. Well, like reinventing leftovers or freezing it.
Yeah.
And so I guess I look at it like I only have so much freezer room. My family will only eat so many leftovers. So I try to not get to that point if I can help it.
Okay. So minimalism in the fridge. I think that's an area that I can improve. And I I used to be more into it than I am now, but the freezer works just as well. Yeah. So unless I'm planning to can, if it's that, like, oh, this is going to go bad, I better just stick it in the in the freezer and we'll eat it later. Yeah. So yeah, the freezer is great for that. Okay. Well, that's good to know. That answers my question. And I think that is just a mental shift that we need to go from, like we only have food if the fridge is loaded to the gills to this different mindset of, there's food and there's some food in the fridge, but that's not the main place to go. And that's okay. And so, then we know we're not wasting it.
Yes. And it can be the main place to go if you want it to be. Like in the summer, especially when there's just fresh produce abounding everywhere, gardens are overflowing and neighbors are giving you zucchini, then yes, that's totally fine for your fridge to be your number one go-to. But I think as the seasons shift, and even just from week to week, you might say, well, this week we're not going to eat quite as much from the fridge. We're going to eat more from the pantry or more from the freezer to use what we already have. It's just not where, not all of our food comes from the fridge, I guess would be the mental shift to think that the fridge plays a part. Yes. But there's also food in the pantry and there's also food in the freezer. So a fully, completely stocked fridge really just goes bad quicker.
Yeah. It just is definitely contributing to that waste. I know for me from experience, if the fridge is really full, things get lost and things are hidden in the back or in the vegetable drawer. And that's when I'm throwing stuff away. And I don't want to throw 40% of my grocery budget away. Yeah. So I think that's a good thing. I know for me to really work on is to make sure I can see all my food. So whatever that means, for me, that means not having the fridge crammed too full. It may mean, having it full and going through it a lot. It could mean a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
But yeah. Okay, I like that. Anything else on food waste before we move on?
Well, I do have an interesting challenge to propose to your listeners, and that would be to see if you can limit your trash bag to just one a week. One trash bag a week. Okay, so I know, and this comes with a caveat because a lot of people will say, there's just no way I can do it. But if you mentally prepare yourself for this, and every time you go to throw something away and you say, okay, well, I only get this one trash bag. So if I throw this away, it means I'm taking up space. Is there something else I can do with this? And I think that mental shift too helps us put a greater priority on the food that we actually have and the money that we actually spent, rather than thinking the food and the money is expendable. Because food and money are both resources and they're both coming out of our pocket. So if we can just kind of shift that a little bit to say, all right, so instead of this last little bit of, diced chicken that didn't quite make it into tacos tonight, what else can I do with this? And turning it into, I don't know, a quesadilla for lunch, or even like you mentioned earlier, putting it in the freezer, doing something with it. Just avoiding the trash can is a really big mental shift when it comes to food waste. So that'd be my challenge, to limit your grocery bag to one a week and see how many times you go to the trash can and then turn away from the trash can because you realize I don't have that much room left and I need to come up with something else to do with this.
That is a big challenge. All right, I'm going to post that on the Facebook page. I want to hear you guys how that goes for you. So there are 7 people in my family. So do we get an extra trash bag? Because I'm feeling like that's really hard, but I'll try. We will try. But we do, one thing that I do is we have backyard chickens. So that gives us a bonus there because any little food scraps, the chickens can eat. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you have a dog or we have the chickens or whatever. So, okay. All right. Challenge is on. I'll do it. I won't even beg for a bonus trash bag. Okay. We'll go for it. Okay. I love it. Thank you. Yes. I'll post my updates on the Facebook, and I want to hear from everybody how that goes. So that's a big one. Okay. So let's move on then and talk a little more about meal planning and any tips you have for us there.
Okay. So, the ones I've already mentioned, definitely want to use what you already have. I think one of my back pocket tricks is to talk to the family about what they like. Now, I share this in my course, Grocery Budget Bootcamp, but when you ask your family what they like to eat, you drastically reduce all the bad things that come with dinner, like picky eaters saying, I don't want to eat this. And people saying, oh, but I don't want that. I want this instead. Or things that just go against all your hard work and your effort that you put into making a healthy meal with your family. If you just ask them, hey, what are some of your favorites? And you try to intentionally include those favorites into your meal plan, 99% of dinners will be smooth. And then you just have to deal with that 1%. But I like to give the example with my own family where if I make your favorite dinner yesterday and I'm making your favorite dinner tomorrow, then if today's not your favorite, you're a little bit more likely to eat that willingly, without complaints, because I'm already making your favorites yesterday and tomorrow. Does that make sense? Like you kind of sandwich in what your family likes to eat. And then it trickles down into not wasting food. It trickles down into not having to grasp at straws when it comes to what to actually put on the meal plan, because you've already asked them. You've got tons of ideas in front of you. You just make what your family likes to eat.
That's so simple, but so smart because, it contributes to everything. It contributes to food waste because they're not throwing away half of what's on their plate. And then I sometimes, and this is something that I'm working on, but sometimes I want to be too creative with dinner. I want new things all the time. And then some of them are a flop. And then, who's stuck eating all the leftovers? Me, because no one else wants it. And I'm like, no, we will not waste. And then I'm eating the same thing for a week. And maybe I didn't like it that much either, but I don't want to throw it away. And I know the effort that went into it. But if you start from that list of what your family likes, then they're on board. And it goes, like you said, it goes so much smoother in many ways. And I've also, from doing that, just using that one principle, I find I'm buying less. Now, I'm still buying a large quantity of food, but I'm buying less random things because I'm not, trying all these different new recipes every week.
Yeah.
I'm buying some staples that are the same. And then I know from those staples what I need to make, and then they don't go bad. And so it kind of is a full cycle of, it saves you money and time and energy and all kinds of things. So it just builds on itself and it's good in so many ways.
Oh, absolutely. I'm completely on the same page with you. And I have a little trick for you too when you do want to try something new, because I know that we all kind of get tired of the same old all the time. And, there's all those great looking recipes on Pinterest, and we have Pinterest accounts, so we want to use them. But my trick for that is to not make the whole recipe. It's to make half. So if you can,
Okay.
if possible, have the recipe and serve it along something that you know your family likes. So even if it's, I don't know, like a new enchilada recipe, maybe you make it alongside your family's favorite macaroni and cheese and a side salad and some green beans or something. And I'm totally making this up. But that way you can try these new enchiladas to see if your family likes them, to see if you like them, because it's a brand new to you recipe too. And you get that variety that you're looking for, that desire to, as you mentioned, be creative in the kitchen. But if it's a flop, you're not stuck eating 20 enchiladas for the next week.
Yes.
Maybe you have a couple lunches.
You're not that committed to the enchiladas.
Yes.
Yes, which is a good thing.
Yes. And then if it's a winner, you say, well, cool. All right, I'll make this next time and I'll just make the full version and not half the version.
That's a great idea. Another idea that I've learned from you is substitution. So when you're trying a new enchilada recipe and it calls for some spice you don't have in your cupboard, look it up online. What can I substitute for? I just did that with Indian food. What can I substitute? I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's garam masala is the spice it called for. Well, I didn't have that. And so it said you can use curry. It's not going to taste exactly the same, but it's going to be similar enough. So I used curry, which I had saved myself some money. It still tasted great and I didn't have to buy the spice. So that's another tip that I've learned from you, is just to substitute instead of buying every little thing that it says in the recipe, because it can really add up. And then if you don't like it, you're stuck with garam masala and no other way to use it. Yeah.
Yes. Substitute,
that's a problem.
It is a big problem. Yes. The real foodies, I think spice cabinet is the detriment, because we can get so carried away with all the different spices that we want to try that sound good. But like you said, you buy one and if you hate it, well, you're kind of stuck with it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's a great tip. So the last thing that I wanted to make sure that I asked you is I want to know, some people, maybe their budget isn't as tight or they're not in debt. I want to know kind of what other benefits you've seen. I mean, obviously there's a financial benefit, but what other life lessons have you learned through this process? What other things have come to your life because of the way you've done your grocery shopping?
Yeah, I think the two biggest ones would be patience and contentment. Throughout our budgeting, our many years of budgeting for whatever reason, we've learned we've had to say no to a lot of different things for various reasons. But it's taught us to be content with what we have, and that's both food, but it's also not food. When we were trying to pay off debt, it was saying no to what would seem unimportant, like a cup of coffee. But, there are times where that dollar really could have gone to something else. So contentment was really huge. We actually want to share with you that we once did a challenge to see how long we could go without spending money on groceries, because I found myself standing at the kitchen sink doing dishes, and I was going to make a dish to bring to church. And I remember thinking, I have no food. We have nothing to eat. I'm going to have to go to the store and go shopping. And then I literally took a step back and was like, oh my goodness, Tiff, really? And I forced myself to open all the doors in the pantry where we kept food, and thinking, you think you have no food? Yeah, look at everything you have. You have way more than you need. So I confessed this to my husband, and he was like, well, why don't we see how long we can go? Because I think this would be good for us. And we ended up going 33 days without grocery shopping.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. So contentment for sure. Just learning to make do with what you have. And it may not be what you want, but it'll get you through and you'll be just fine. And then patience. Because we work so hard for whatever it might be, whether it is a financial goal or just a decision that you have to make in your life. It's taught us to be patient in the decision-making process, to wait more, not be so hasty to say yes. Sometimes we think, oh, I really need, let me rephrase. So if we're out and about, we like to window shop. And there's a sudden urge to buy that pair of jeans or to buy that shirt, and we do it. We bring it home, and then it turns out that maybe those pair of jeans didn't fit the way we really wanted them to. Or you start cleaning out the closet. Oh, look, there's several pairs of jeans you already had. So there's lots of different ways that it's benefited us, but patience and contentment have been the biggest two. And I can't even tell you how many times we've waited on a decision intentionally, just saying we're going to sleep on it for about a week because, it's not something we need ASAP. So we're going to sleep on it for about a week and then see what happens. And it turns out we didn't even need that thing anyway. Like whatever that thing was, it worked out in our favor to not jump in and buy it. So yeah, patience and contentment by far.
Yeah,
they are.
Those are huge ones. We all want that. And I love that this is a vehicle that has helped you to reach those, to gain those attributes. So I think I'm love that we're ending with that. The very last thing that I want to make sure that you tell us about some of your programs and where people can get more information on your website.
Sure. So I have a blog, don'twastethecrumbs.com, and I post up there twice a week. Lots and lots and lots of great stuff. So if you're ever curious about how to make something, or if you're looking for family favorite recipes, you want to dabble a little bit into natural living, maybe you want to make toothpaste, or your kid has a stomach bug and you don't want to use over-the-counter medicine, then go straight to the blog and search for whatever you're looking for, and I'm sure something will come up. I actually have taken... So I mentioned at the very beginning about how I had to come up with a way to eat healthy food on a budget. Well, I came up with a system and I refined that system over the years. And I launched a course in 2017. It's called Grocery Budget Bootcamp. That's the course that you're in. And it's my signature course. This is where, I've had readers ask me for years, can you just hold my hand? Tell me what to do from point A to point B so I'm not missing a thing. And this is the course. And I've had so many people go through who from all the spectrum of I have no idea where to begin to I've been doing this for years, but I want to make sure I'm not missing something. And so that's Grocery Budget Bootcamp. But I actually have a special gift for your readers. If they go to grocerybudgetbootcamp.com/moms who know. So no spaces, no hyphens, no dots or nothing, just grocerybudgetbootcamp.com/moms who know. They can sign up for this, a freebie that I call Real Food Fast, because one of the biggest issues with eating healthy is the time it takes to make dinner. And we're busy, we're moms, we got spouses, we have kids, and that doesn't include all the stuff you got to do outside the house. So one of my goals is to help readers actually get that food on the table quicker within the time that they have to spend cooking. And so they can go there and they can sign up, put in their email address, and I'm going to send them this 5-day challenge to help them get real food on the table faster. But there's also some extra gifts that I've included in that for them.
Awesome. Okay. I will be sure to link to that. So that's grocerybudgetbootcamp.com/moms who know. We are also on board with the challenge for the one trash bag for the week. So check the Facebook page for that, and we'll all be working on it together. And then be sure you guys to go and get that Real Food Fast 5-day challenge. So there's lots of great stuff in here that we can work on. Tiffany, it has been so fun talking to you and learning from you. Thanks for all the good work that you do. And also thanks for the money that you've saved me, because this month with Grocery Budget Bootcamp has gone much better than last month without it. So I have learned a lot and I appreciate it.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Yeah. Oh, it makes me happy too. It's a good thing. So thank you for being here. And thank you everyone for being on Moms Who Know. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. A special thank you to those of you who have reached out, those who have shared the show, the people who have recommended guests, and those who have left reviews on iTunes. I just want you to know I appreciate it so much. I'm so glad that we are building a community and that you are a part of it. At this time of year, things get really busy, so I wanted to remind you to get online and get your copy of Real Food Fast from Tiffany at Don't Waste the Crumbs. She will help you save money and make the dinner process go a lot smoother. To get that, you're going to go to grocerybudgetbootcamp.com/moms who know.